Hello, everyone, and welcome to another enlightening episode of the Canadian SME Small Business Podcast. I'm your host, Nidhi, and today we have an exciting conversation in store for you. We will be diving into the topics of digital payment solutions, innovative collection methods, and the challenges of building a successful sales organization in a startup environment. Our guest for this episode is Michael Pupil, the Vice President of Sales at Lexop. Michael has an extensive career in sales and customer success with experiences spanning from 2004 to the present. He has held key positions at companies such as Connex International, Thinking Capital, OneSpan, Montrium, and Braid Health. Throughout his career, Michael has been responsible for overseeing revenue generations, managing sales pipeline, and motivating sales team. Join us as we delve into Michael's journey and the innovative solutions Lexop offers. Hi, Michael. It's great to have you on the Canadian SME Small Business Podcast. How are you doing today?
Hi, Nidhi. Thank you so much. That was such a nice, warm welcome, and it's a pleasure and honor to be here. So good morning to you, and happy to chat with you.
So, Michael, your extensive experience in sales and your role in driving Lexop's growth are truly inspiring. We are excited to hear about your journey and the insights you have to share with our listeners. Let's talk about your journey and inception of Lexop. So, every successful career has a story of growth and opportunity. So, Michael, can you tell us about your background and what led you to join Lexop as the VP of Sales?
Sure. So I guess we'll start at the beginning. And my first, I guess I'll call it real big boy job once I was an adult was post college, actually at Royal Bank of Canada. I was working there as a teller while I was still studying, and then once it was completed, they generously moved me into a different position, as it is, and that was my real first taste of sales. And I'll
Mhm.
put that in quotations because what it really was training on asking the right questions to help serve customers in their needs, and that be it, investments or mortgages or loans or even just simple banking. And so I'll throw out a quick shout out to Christian Kokorian, who I think is still with RBC to this
Mhm.
day. But that was the first leader that I was under that helped open my eyes to, sales really being about questions. Now, fast forward the clock. Those were in the early 2000 years, so I'm aging myself here. But the experience or the journey with Lexop goes back about a decade. And one of the co-founders, Amir Tajkarimi, who's our CEO and co-founder, about 10 years ago, he started his journey from his role as a banking lawyer into now a legal tech entrepreneur. We were introduced together, but via a mutual friend. And what he was looking for was advice on, how to pitch, what to expect in the sales cycle, how to prepare a slide deck, or what questions to ask. And so through the years, we cultivated a great relationship. He is a wonderful person. And over time, it finally led to Lexop becoming what it is today, that is more focused in the digital communication and payments space for collections,
Mhm.
and ultimately a solidified offer to say, do you want to join? You've been tinkering around for so long, why not, come through this? And that's what led to the pivot of Lexop moving from founder-led sales to a structured sales organization that has a key positioning and go-to-market strategy, and outlining that for future growth. So it's been a long time in the works. But my entire career, like you mentioned before, has spanned from everything that is
Yeah.
customer facing, including sales, customer success, service, onboarding, the works, because any role that is customer facing is a sales role. The question is, does it have quota or not, which is
Yeah.
the delineation between quota carrying sales roles or customer facing sales roles.
So can you tell us some of your key challenges? Like you have been through a lot of transitions. So like what are the key challenges that you faced during your transition, and like how did you overcome those ones?
Yeah, so I joined Lexop in November of 2022. At that time, most SaaS companies were still in the fashion of growth at all costs. In fact, it was still being very highly encouraged up to that time. Only a few had been really kind of pivoting away from that idea. And
Mm-hmm.
that's where, from that time, the SaaS multiples of valuation had been affected, and kind of a pivot from growth at all costs to efficient growth and a focus on profitability.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when I started, there was still that air of growth of all costs. The budgets were still very high. We can, spend a lot of money in order to try to, acquire clients. In 2023, and very quickly in 2023, before the end of Q1, our board and Lexop as a whole, we decided that this was not going to be the strategy that was going to carry forward, and we had to pivot. And so that shift from growth at all costs to an efficient growth model and a focus on profitability became our core focus. So our game plan needed to change, and it obviously did. Change always comes with challenge, as we all know.
Yes.
But I do have to credit the team for having an amazing amount of confidence and the effort that they put in order to pivot. And so most organizations were built, and this is how Lexop was built, with a traditional sales structure for lead generation and outreach, meaning AEs, SDRs, taking part in, cold outbound reach as well as referral-based systems. And we completely pivoted away from that entirely. And so I put together a strategy that was more revolved around event-based marketing. So going to conferences, doing webinars, providing subject matter expertise, and really trying to speak on the subject matter expertise of collections and digital technology for organizations. And so that pivot was a tremendous challenge. And in some ways, we're still grappling with, what was happening for decades before into this newer model that some organizations are probably doing the same thing. And I can't credit the idea just myself. I obviously took the lead from some organizations that I saw making the pivot a little bit faster and saw some terrific results and said, we can replicate this. And we have.
So I think it will be very rightly to say that your journey, like all those transitions and everything that you have done throughout your journey, it highlights the importance of adaptability and continuous learning. And I think learning is the way to achieve success, like in your career and in your, like when you're looking for growth. I think that's the main thing, though, that continuous learning and adaptability, like adapt to the situations.
Yeah, it's very rare that something stands the test of time for all time, because we all know that the world changes around us, and it feels like it's increasingly changing faster and faster and with more impact. And maybe that's just because I'm getting older and maybe I'm seeing it that way, whereas I was oblivious to it in younger years. Maybe this was always the speed of change, but I certainly do feel the current happening a little quicker as I age.
You don't age. That's I think that's just the moving forward with your career and with your growth. So age just comes. As everyone says, age is just a number. So don't even.
I
No one,
appreciate that.
no one thinks about that. So yeah. So let's talk about economy and rising delinquencies. So
Yeah.
economic trends have significant impact on businesses and their operations. So Michael, how are these rising delinquencies on loans and credit they are affecting businesses, and what solutions does Lexop offer to address these kind of challenges?
Yep. What a terrific contextual question for what everybody is going through today. Look, I take Lexop out of this, just ourselves on a personal level. Every financial article or news segment that we read discusses, the economy as a whole, increase in delinquencies, higher cost of living, inflation costs across the board. It's always surrounding a lot of that. And not to jump into the political side and really to stay to the economic side, following COVID, we're hearing a lot about, how the government printed a considerable amount of money, leading to the increase of inflation, increased interest rates, causing a spike in those payments. And so for anybody listening, if you've had, a variable mortgage, for example, yourself every single month or whatever your payment schedule is, you feel it directly.
Absolutely.
Right? If you tried to purchase a car in 2021 or 2022, you saw what happened to the price of automobiles across the board.
Absolutely.
And in turn, those loans that finance those automobiles. And so it became kind of like this self-fulfilling cycle of events where one leads to the next and leading to where we are now. Now, for those business owners and those individuals, it isn't hard for any of us to see what has happened. And we all try to do the same thing. We all juggle the bills that we have to pay on a monthly basis. And there's a number of them. Some are tied to financial services, others are like telecoms or utilities, et cetera. Every single provider of those services has felt an increase in delinquencies because the wages did not keep up with the rise of inflation and the cost of
That's true.
life overall. And so if the pie remains the same size, but the pieces to that pie are required from other institutions, who's going to get left out? And for many Canadians, it has become a choice of which ones get paid and which ones need to be strategically pushed in order to make sure that you have things like food and medicine and diapers, or the everyday needs of things.
Basic
And
necessities.
exactly. And that is a scary environment that we're living in. And not to put doom and gloom, I think that there is a brighter future that is coming through. But as we navigate this, regardless of the period of time and the economic standing, there have always been delinquencies, right? Pick any period of time in our economic history, and there are always customers that are late on bills. And so servicing that account has always been a thing. And so that's how I see the trend in the economy, or what we're feeling today as business owners and individuals that are trying to pay bills.
So then how does Lexop's approach help improve cash flow and the customer retention?
Yeah. So Lexop improves cash flow with one simple approach, and it's really automating and streamlining the digital communications to customers who can self-serve delinquencies. I don't know about you. I have certainly been late on a bill, mea culpa. I've done it, and it could be something as simple as my credit card expired and I forgot about the reoccurring, payment. I assume you've gone through that too.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the emotional feeling of something like that is, I feel silly. How silly of me that I forgot about this, and then you have to catch up. But there are far more emotional ties to individuals that are late, where it could be they've lost their job. A loved one may have passed away. Perhaps they're going through marital issues or relationship issues that have a significant impact on their finances. And so there's a number of different outcomes or events that can take place that are not very pleasant. Now, in most cases, when you contact your provider, if you need some sort of relief, I would like to still believe that most Canadian organizations are pretty empathetic, and they will work with you in order to figure out some sort of payment plan, right? Now, in order to get there, I have to tell you what's happening. And that could be very difficult if I'm calling into account resolution, customer service, collections, to tell you that I am, I've lost a loved one, or I've lost my job, or I'm breaking up with my wife, or husband, or whatever the case is. And so confiding those type of details to a stranger can be very, very difficult. And in most cases, people avoid it. And when you cannot pay a bill in full, most people think that they're just not going to pay. And an option or a partial payment isn't even an option. So when I say that Lexop helps to streamline the digital communication, it goes beyond just sending out digital communications. It's more about leveraging the technology to allow those individuals to self-serve and give them the options within that technology in order to engage with their provider. That if I cannot pay you the full $400 this month, perhaps you will allow me to do $100 a week. And because I'm flattening out, the payment, it's not a one lump sum. I'm kind of spreading it over time. You allow me to catch up within the same time frame, if you allow, to be able to get back to zero before the next reoccurring bill comes through. So Lexop focuses there primarily, right? It's that empathetic side of how can we work together that allows you to choose the path that is best for you within the guidelines of the organization that I am, so that we both meet in the middle.
Yes. So I think it will be very correct to say that understanding and addressing economic challenges is very, very crucial for business sustainability.
Yeah, if anybody listening to this knows themselves that the bills have gone up, but if you're in the market, or you're a business owner, or you're in the collection space, you know that everything that I'm saying is pretty much your 9 to 5 every day. And so refining that process, we were talking about adaptability before. We have gone through a market like this in a very long time, and I dare say that we've never gone through a market like this. Most people compare this to the 2007, 2008 mortgage bubble, but that was one sector that it certainly had a ripple effect on a lot.
Mm-hmm.
What we're going through today is almost a worldwide event that has
Mm-hmm.
happened with many countries,
Mm-hmm.
including the United States, Europe, Asia, where those practices were in place, and everybody is across the board. This is not one sector. This is all sectors
Mm-hmm.
across. So it's a much more complex economic cycle that we're living today than what we experienced about 16, 17 years ago.
Yeah. So, to everyone tuning in, economic challenges like rising delinquencies can seem daunting. But as Michael shared, having innovative solutions and a proactive approach can make a significant difference. It is essential to say, I think it is very essential to say that stay informed and be prepared to adapt your strategies to navigate these fluctuations.
Yeah. Well said. Well said.
So, Michael, let's talk about innovating collection methods. So,
Yeah.
innovation is key to staying ahead in any industry. So, what are the current methods of collections, and what did Lexop feel the need to innovate in this space?
Sure. I think collections really only has 5 channels of communication today that I can think of. You have physical letters that get sent into the mail.
Yep.
I'd love to see what the open rate to those letters are, but we still use that. There are
Yeah.
phone calls,
Yes.
which if you are late on a bill and the provider is giving you a phone call, I dare
Uh,
say that we can deduce very easily what the phone call is going to be about, and it becomes very
mhm.
easy to duck that phone call. And there are
Yes.
a lot of statistics that show that the connect rate to phone calls is becoming less and less as we
Less and
become
less.
more self-sufficient on a self-serve basis.
Mhm.
And then, of course, you have email communication, text message communication, and portals that you can interact with. And so those are the 5 communication channels that I can think of that we communicate, not just with collections, but everything
Everything.
across
Yes.
the board, right? Until we start all wearing those goggles in 3D. Uh, Now, the issue, or where Lexop steps in, is that we had a personal issue with emails and text messages, as
Mhm.
they're almost exclusively used as the digital equivalent to the physical letter. Dear Michael, this is ABC. Just a kind reminder that you are late on bill 1234. Kindly do something about it
Yeah.
in your
Yeah.
own way, right? And now it's up to me to either go into the website, go into a portal, do something, go into a branch, and make the payment, and expect an action from
Mhm.
that activity, right? And so Lexop wanted to innovate that, rather than just sending out a digital letter or digital communication, just like the physical one, we
Mhm.
wanted to capture the attention of that individual to make them and lead them to a payment right then and there, right?
Mhm.
And Lexop goes a little bit farther than just the ability to sending out emails and text. That's not
Yeah.
why companies would invest in Lexop. Rather, we work with the collections team to refine the sequence of communication, what those channels and the refinement of the messaging, the frequency, alongside the provider, where the experience of the customer is at its forefront in order to drive repayment. And where we see this is the ease of use is really everything.
Mhm.
And if I go back in time, right to the beginning of my career in the early 2000s, all of the investments that we have made as an industry have really been at the origination side of technology. And
Yeah.
even my history in some of the companies that I've worked with were all about origination. It was all about the account opening, or getting money out the door in terms of loans or products out the door,
Mhm.
including things like electronic signature. I
Mhm.
mean, COVID was phenomenal for that type of technology, because before that, we always wondered if an electronic signature was even a legal, kind of practice. It doesn't look like what I sign. It's just a tap of my phone or a click of the mouse. How could that be real? But the idea was to be able to provision things much faster.
Yeah.
There is, and there continues to be, a gap in technology and investment in technology for that same self-serve kind of ease of use, very easy to click on all the devices that we're addicted to here, to be able to make the repayment. And that's where Lexop wanted to build the UI UX, or the
Mhm.
user experience part,
Mm.
but then more importantly, work with the collections team, because there is a way to speak to people, and there is
Yes.
a frequency in which to reach out to them in the channel that they prefer, that will yield a better result. And that is where Lexop, really sees the gap that we try to plug into.
Yeah. So innovating traditional processes can lead to significant improvements in efficiency and customer satisfaction, right?
Tremendously,
So let
tremendous.
so let's talk about building a sales organization now. So building a
Sure.
successful sales organization is crucial for growth of any startup. So Michael, can you share your experience in transitioning Lexop from founder-led sales to sales-led organization?
Yeah, yeah. And so for any startup that's out there, or any privately owned business that is
Hmm.
going through this transition, look, I mentioned my start date with Lexop. There
Yes.
are still, in some ways, that transition still taking place today. It is certainly not a light switch that says, okay,
Yes.
this is what it is. But that's not a bad thing. We have two co-founders, Mir Tashkarimi and Michelle Jamadi. Our
Hmm.
founders have a deep love for the organization and the people who work there. We experience it every day.
Hmm.
It's one of the primary reasons why I left the position that I was in before in order to join. And I was happy doing, a little bit of consulting work with Lexop. And by the
Hmm.
way, I was doing it for free because of
Oh.
their passion. But what we continue to work on is an allocation of responsibilities that are suited for the roles that we're in, right?
Hmm.
And so, for example, in my time at Lexop, we've consolidated more and more of the customer-facing initiatives under one central leader in order to ensure consistency and accountability.
Hmm.
And that is key. So when you start seeing the results of that shift, it becomes easier for your founders to really trust that someone loves and cares about the success of the company and the people just as much as they do, and even take it farther into the future, right? And
Hmm.
so I think that is key. And I've got a lot of opinions on how to build sales organizations and things like that. But I think in the premise of the question, how to transition from founder-led into a sales-led,
Yeah.
you got to come to the table with a very specific plan. You have to be able to map that out and, of course, be able to track the results of that in order to encourage, more and more responsibility to be let go. Because
Hmm.
aside from the financial commitment to these organizations, founders put everything into this,
Yes.
right? Far more than money. And
Yeah.
so, um, without getting maybe too philosophical with this, it's baby, right? And so when
Yeah.
you're
Oh,
handed
absolutely. It
someone's,
is. Yeah.
yeah, when you're
It is.
handed
That's true.
someone's child, you kind of protect them a little bit.
Protect.
Yeah,
Absolutely. It does.
yeah,
It does. So I think building a strong sales organization is key to driving growth and achieving long-term success.
absolutely, absolutely.
So, folks, building a successful sales organization is no easy feat, especially in a startup environment. Michael's experience transitioning Lexop from founder led to sales led growth highlights the importance of strong leadership and strategic approach. For those of you leading small businesses, consider how you can strengthen your sales team to drive growth effectively. So, Michael, let's talk about future trends and strategies now. So, staying ahead of trends is essential for maintaining a competitive edge. What trends do you foresee in the fintech and collection industry, and how is Lexo preparing for them?
Mm. Well, I would say the AI genie is out of the bottle, isn't it?
Yes.
It is moving quick. If you are in tech and you
Hmm.
aren't at least flirting with AI and its uses, I think that's a miss.
That's a miss.
But
Yes.
for Lexop specifically, I think AI still has its pointed applications
Hmm.
for Lexop specifically, and maybe many organizations, some possibly even listening to this, where I see the fundamental core of collections
Hmm.
being able to marry empathy and technology.
Hmm.
And what I mean by that is that for people who are in collections, for the most part, they carry a tremendous amount of stress,
Yes.
anxiety, tons of heavy emotion. And so this is where the self-serve, component and various options is so helpful for consumers across the board. Now,
Hmm.
there are applications out there in AI to help identify or pre-identify those individuals based on some previous activity that can
Hmm.
be looked up. I think we are still a few, I don't know what ChatGPT's version is right now. I think they're at 5, but I don't know what
Yes.
number it's going to get to before, it starts to turn all of this into a much more automated process. And
Hmm.
maybe never get there. Maybe we do.
Maybe. Yeah.
Um, but I do know that if your trends in technology, fintech, and especially in the collection side, the emotional side of the individual is probably the precipice of where you're going to see success or failure.
Mhm.
And so how do you marry that with technology? And sometimes I think right now we're close. I think we're limited in terms of the capabilities, which is why it takes organizations to work alongside an organization to figure out what the culture of their customers are in order to communicate in a way that they prefer. So that would be my prediction. I think it's that AI genie that is blaring forward and pretty quickly.
Mhm. So I think preparing for future trends and leveraging strategic partnerships are crucial for sustained success.
Oh my God, the partnerships are probably and not probably, the partnerships that Lexop have forged are the exact reason as
Mhm.
to the success of what it is that we're seeing. And if I may, I'll name two in particular that have been incredible. One is
Mhm.
another Canadian company. I
Mhm.
don't think they qualify as small, but the company is Nuve, a
Oh,
payment processor here in Canada. It sounds like you've heard about them. And
yes.
if anybody listening has not heard of Nuve, I'm sure that you've heard of Ryan Reynolds as well, who's an
Mhm.
active investor
Mhm.
into the company.
Mhm.
Second is an American company called Allied Solutions. Their parent is a financial or an insurance company called Securian, but
Yeah.
Allied Solutions is a wonderful partner where we work in the same ideal customer profile segment of the market in financial services, and they
Mhm.
have been a cultural match from day one. And
Yeah.
I can't thank both of those organizations enough. And that is what has helped, a smaller organization like Lexop really be able to step up on a national and international stage to
Mhm.
provide what it is that we do for organizations that serve millions of customers on a regular
Yes.
basis.
That's amazing, Michael. So before we wrap up, what is the one piece of advice you would give to small business owners looking to enhance their digital payment and collections strategy today?
What a great question. My first comment would be, or my first question to those asking that question would be, what is your current cost of delinquent account servicing?
Yeah.
Meaning, if you're a financial institution, how much does it charge or how much does it cost in order to
Mm-hmm.
service a car loan versus a mortgage versus a credit card, etc. If you're a small business and there is an invoice that is delinquent, how
Mm-hmm.
much does it cost you in order to make sure that you get the repayment back?
Yes.
If you don't know the answer to that, then I would highly recommend that that is your starting point because it may shock you as to what the cost actually is. From there, what I would do is I would actually map out your customer journey. What do they do? And what do you do rather? And when do they get your outreach? What
Mm-hmm.
is the outreach?
Mm-hmm.
When was the last time you reviewed the language for the outreach? What is the sequence in terms of timing? And the list goes on. And
Mm-hmm.
so it goes beyond having a significant number of collections. You don't have to triple or quadruple the number of collections that are out there. You can still maintain, what you have as what you've had before in terms of the number of accounts that you're trying to collect on.
Mm-hmm.
What we're really trying to focus on is the reduction of cost of account servicing. And
Mm-hmm.
that is much easier of a process to drive up cash flow and reduce churn.
Yeah.
Right. And so I'll leave it with maybe one very simple equation. If customer interaction equals payment,
Mm-hmm.
and you want your customer interaction to be the most cost-effective channel possible, and you cannot funnel everybody into one channel. Not
Yes.
everybody is going to pick up their phone.
Mm-hmm.
So of the channels that we discussed, if you can drive the majority of those payments into the lowest cost of servicing,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't matter what the quantity is, you will see that return on investment, a more
Yeah.
positive cash flow, and a greater efficiency for the overall business.
Mm-hmm.
Not to mention, probably a better customer experience overall because they're engaging in the channel that they prefer. And so
Yes.
in turn, that drives greater loyalty to your brand. So who would have thought that collections, I think, has somewhat of a stigma or an idea as to, maybe brass knuckles and baseball bats to collect on bills. But Lexop certainly takes a very, very different approach, one that is far more empathetic and one that works as an ally to the collections team. And it's not just about delinquency, but it is the profitability and efficiency of the company as a whole. And that is very different.
Thank you so much, Michael. Thank you so much for sharing your valuable insights and experiences with us today.
Nidhi, it was absolutely my pleasure. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I hope you have
Thank you so much.
hope the
So,
listeners had fun. Yeah.
thank you. We have covered a range of crucial topics, including the economic impact on businesses, innovative collection methods, and the importance of building a strong sales organization. It is clear that adaptability and continuous learning are essential for both career and business success. We extend our gratitude to our partners, exclusive banking partner RBC, exclusive shipping partner UPS, exclusive email partner Constant Contact, and exclusive hospitality partner IAG. Thank you to our audience for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe to Canadian SME Small Business Magazine by visiting our official website at canadiansme.ca to stay updated with more insightful episodes. Until next time, continue supporting your local businesses and thrive in the world of small business. Bye and take care.